Hi there and welcome to another Light Rider tips video. Today I had an Akai APC Mini delivered, so I've just plugged it in, had a quick play around, see what the thing does, and thought I would record just a quick video to show you what it does, how it works with Light Rider and mydmx Go, and what each of the kind of buttons or the pads do. First off, let's just talk about what I'm using. So I've got an iPad Mini 2, a camera adapter, a Lightning to USB camera adapter. Now that allows me to have a kind of a regular full-size USB cable plugged into my iPad from the APC Mini, but also have a power supply connected so that my iPad is charging at the same time. I'm guessing that the APC Mini would draw a fair bit of current, so to get an entire evening of use of Light Rider out of a single battery charge is probably asking a bit too much. So the camera adapter works really well. I do actually have a Lightning to USB B adapter that I often use in another setup. However, I've tried this, it doesn't work. So it seems as though you definitely need the camera adapter to get your get a full-size USB cable into your iPad. Also worth pointing out that the MIDI interface to Light Rider is only supported on the iOS version. It's not you're not able to use it if you're using Light Rider or mydmx Go on an Android or an Amazon Fire HD tablet. Okay, so quick look at what the APC Mini does. As you can see, it's got kind of a whole bank of pads and a few faders. And basically what these all do is control certain elements of Light Rider. So I'm going to go through those, show you what they all are, and then kind of point out what I think is good and what I think is probably some items that are missing. And then you can decide for yourself whether you think it's worth it. So the top, first of all, I'm going to start at the top. The 5 buttons in yellow correspond to the 5 effects in the center. So you've got smoke. You can probably just see these just lighting up on the screen as I press the button. So we've got smoke, we've got blackout, we've got tap and hold for wow, that's the blinder, and then freeze. Freeze, as you know, will actually freeze any of the current effects that are running. There isn't a way of actually getting these to latch on using the APC. If you look on here, for example, if you want the blinder to the wow to hold on, lock on, you tap your finger and then slide off and it will stay. You can't do that with the APC Mini, so. But on the other hand, I guess you know it's a little bit easier to just press and hold these buttons. I do quite like the APC Mini actually. It's a nice little device. It's powered by USB, and the pads are really quite cool. They've got a nice feel to them, even though I think I paid about £63, I think it was, for this. So those are the 5 effects buttons at the center. The button on the top right corresponds to tap. So, and it actually blinks at the rate at which you set. So for example, if I try and set that, I'm going to just choose a sensible speed, probably, I don't know, somewhere in the region of, where are we now? We're looking at, go a bit faster. Let's crank this up to, see if we can get somewhere in that 120 BPM. So you'll now see that the green pad is blinking considerably faster. So that corresponds to tap, which is probably a little bit easier than tapping on the screen. The button on the top left is strobe, and all this does is latches strobe on and off. There isn't a fader for strobe on the Mini itself, so if you actually want to adjust the strobe rate, you're still going to have to go to your screen to adjust the fader. All the top left button is switches strobe on and off. So I'm guessing if you find a strobe value that you like, you can set it and then just hit the button to latch strobe on and off. The second and third rows correspond to the movement effects and the color effects. So the second row down starts off with a movement effect. So currently I've selected float. If you tap the next one, this goes to the center. Then there's random. We've got the sweep effect, circle, tilt, pan, and then the swimmer. Okay, so that row there just allows you to just hop between those. Now I haven't labeled these buttons, but I can imagine it'd be quite useful if they were labeled so that you wouldn't have to remember all these things. The third row down, not surprisingly, relates to the color effects. So we've got the first one being the disco, then there's the carousel, sparkle, stop there, and then, or static. Then there's the chase out, and then there's the chase in, the Light Rider, and then the kind of rainbow fade. So again, those are all nice and easy. They kind of correspond to the circle. Probably would be used if they were labeled. And as you can see, actually I didn't point this out, but actually the pads do light up. So when you selected one of these effects, you can see which one has been selected. Rows, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. So rows 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 correspond to presets numbers 1 to 40. So that leaves 40 pads here corresponding to presets. So if I were to select this one here, for example, sorry, the third one down, it would choose the first preset I've got, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Where are we? We've got ninth here, and then 10. Now, interesting, I've noticed that if you press preset 11, it actually selects preset 11, but you can't see that it's being selected because it's over on the right hand side. 12, 13, it doesn't auto scroll. So that's a kind of a little feature I might mention to the guys at Light Rider to see if they can address that. If you actually select a preset that's not on the screen, it would be kind of useful if the actual presets at the bottom kind of scrolled along for you to so that you could see which one. Because once you get up into the kind of, right, here we go, like 38, 39 and 40, you're kind of miles over here and you can't see which one you've selected, although it is actually selected as you said. But then if you go right back to preset number 1, it actually selects that for you, but you've got to scroll all the way back to see which one it is. So I guess if the pads were labelled, it would be quite useful. It would just be nice if the screen kept up. So that leads us down to the faders. Now the fader on the right hand side is the master dimmer. Okay, so this allows you to set the master dimmer output for all of your fixtures. It's got this has got quite a nice feel to it. I quite like this, and as you can see, it just operates the fader, the dimmer exactly as you expect. It's a bit laggy if you move it up and down rather quickly. I don't know quite what's causing that. I don't know whether it's I'm only running this on an iPad Mini 2, so it's quite possible that my iPad's running a bit slow, although it never has any issues at all running Light Rider. So maybe that's just a little feature of the way that the APC Mini interacts with the iPad. But yeah, I mean, you can certainly get a fairly fine level of control. And if I actually tap the dimmer selection to look at all of the faders for my individual fixtures, as you can see, I've got where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of fixture in this particular project. And so I can use the first 5 faders on here to control the output. So for example, if I've got something like what have I got here? I've got these would have been my my kind of moving heads. So if I wanted to dim the moving head separately, I could do this. If I wanted to dim my star cloth, for example, I could pull the fader value for my star cloth down, which I guess is probably a little easier than if I wanted to do this on the screen. There isn't any way of kind of exiting this. You have to go back to the screen and tap the screen again. But as you can see, you can actually, you can adjust the faders here without actually seeing what you're doing on the screen. So that's kind of one advantage, is that you can adjust the faders of your individual fixtures if you know what they are. Now, according to the user guide for Light Rider, the buttons above the faders are supposed to kind of operate these flash effects. But I have no idea whether they work or whether they don't. I'm not sure. But from what I can see, not a great deal is happening. You can see that these buttons do something if you tap them on screen, but nothing appears to happen. I don't actually have any light fixtures connected up at the moment, so it's possible that something might happen if I were to press these buttons. But on screen, I can't see any kind of visual activity that suggests that anything is happening. So yeah, that's a little bit of a mystery, and that is about it. That's all of the other buttons on the right hand side don't do anything. They're not mapped to any features within Light Rider. So is this useful? I don't know. I think for me the jury's probably still out on this, because the things that are missing for me are controls for all of the kind of settings within each of the effects. So it may be pretty cool that I can go and select the disco ball just by pressing a button, but actually I probably spend as much time during my gigs tapping the shift, or certainly setting speed, particularly for for moving heads. So I particularly like the swimmer, for example. So where's my swimmer? He's right all the way over here. We need to go and, oh no, sorry, I need to go and label my button so I can actually see what we're doing. But I like the swimmer and I like the duck. So we can go and whiz around here, find the ones. But I can't actually set fan, I can't set size, I can't set speed, and I can't set shift using the Mini at all. And I don't think it would be beyond the capabilities of the software developers to allow us to do this. I'm not quite sure how they would do it, but there's plenty of options in here. There's a shift function, for example, on the pad, so it wouldn't be impossible to hold down the shift key and use some of the faders here, for example, to set I don't know, let's say this set fan, set speed, set shift, and set size. I haven't really thought that through too much, but it doesn't seem, I don't think it would be impossible to be able to use some of those features. But for me personally, that's the kind of big thing that's missing from the use of this APC Mini. Great to be able to select the overall movement effects and color effects, but as I said, it's what's missing from this at the moment that I think I would struggle to take this out to a gig and think, oh wow, this has made a massive difference to my use of Light Rider. Again, there's no control for gobo settings on here, there's no control for zoom, roll, there's nothing on here for prism, so it really is a very basic control of the dimmers for each of your different light fixtures, and for selecting presets, and also, as I said, setting overall effects of both movement and color effects that you want to use. There's a fair bit missing, I think, for me, that would make this an absolute no-brainer. I'm sure if all those features were added, then the software itself, or the actual the use of an APC Mini would suddenly become rather more complicated, and you, as a DJ out there trying to actually do your job and play music, would have an awful lot to remember to use this as well. So overall, I think interesting investment for me. Interesting to see what it can do. But I'm not entirely convinced that it's going to be amazing at the next gig that I go out, which will be tomorrow. So I will take it out, we'll see what it looks like, we'll see how it performs, but I suspect that I will be actually using the screen on my Light Rider iPad a fair bit as well. Okay, so if you've got any questions, then please pop those into the comments, or as always, you can head over to the Facebook Light Rider mydmx Go help and support. Ask questions there. There's a few people that have been using it for a while, although not many people have used something like the APC Mini to date. Okay, but any questions, fire away. That's it for me. Thank you very much.